What's up, everybody? Happy January 2nd, 2020. 2020 is the year, and we are back with Archangel Ink Live number 15. Jordan, how are you today?
I am doing great, Rob. I am broadcasting here from Portugal, actually, Lisbon,
Hey,
Portugal.
nice.
My
So,
wife
yep.
and I just got here, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, tell me about what's going on. Tell the viewers out there. I know you've shared a little bit with the Archangel Ink team, but I think people might be interested in knowing what's possible for
Yeah.
digital entrepreneurs, and I think it's pretty cool what you're up to.
Well, yeah, I'd love to talk about it. I have a smile on my face because just as Rob and I were getting into this video call, I knocked over a wine glass and shattered it into about 100 pieces. Of course, in an Airbnb, you're not necessarily, it's not the greatest idea to do. I'm probably stepping on glass right now, but we're doing the live anyway, Rob. We're on here and we're working
That's
through
it.
those things. But yeah, I'm in an Airbnb right now in Lisbon, Portugal. And I hope the Wi-Fi is okay. We're just there's nothing I can do about it. So we're hoping that it's going to work for this
We're gonna
broadcast.
wing it.
I haven't cut out so far, and that's better than I can say about our Pennsylvania broadcast. So
Right.
hopefully it's a little better than those. Sorry again for anyone that I know we had a comment on YouTube or Facebook that it was a little bit hard to follow me because of my Wi-Fi there. So we do apologize for that. We're going to just do the best we can and try to stay on live here. But yeah, my wife and I are traveling. I'm going to pick up my computer and hopefully just show you a little bit. We got this
Nice.
Airbnb right here. Let me just back out of the way. Nice little kitchen over there and a bathroom and a separate room. But yeah, really nice. It's here in Portugal, Lisbon, Portugal, in the Alfama district. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know a lick of Portuguese. I studied Spanish in high school and college and didn't do a very good job at learning it there at all. So I know there's some similarities between that and Spanish. I already see it. I haven't really tried to speak it so far. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, this kind of lifestyle, Rob, we talked a little bit about this just before we got on, but it's cool. You can do things like this when you work online. You are not dependent upon your location, and that comes with some issues at times in figuring out how to make a consistent income come in. But then you have that benefit of being able to travel, being able to go different places.
Right.
My wife and I are lucky that we both work online. We both have remote jobs, and you don't even necessarily have to be an entrepreneur to live like the digital nomad lifestyle, as it were. You can work remotely for your job. I mean, I've heard stories of people in books that I've read, they go up to their bosses and make something work. There's so much nowadays that, think about what you do. If you work for a company and you do most of your work from a computer, maybe you can go remote one day a week. Maybe it's something that could turn out you could be the remote person at your job. Who knows? That's not the topic of the video today,
Right.
but it's a cool side note of what's possible if you do things like write books, if you do things like build your email list and build a business. There's so much it opens up for you. You're not dependent upon living out the American dream of the commute and the big house. And maybe that's great. Maybe you like that. Maybe you like that environment, or maybe you say, hey, it's not really what I want to do. I want to explore different places. I want to do work that I really enjoy and really love. And I'm just, I'm grateful and very thankful that I started making this transition about 5 years ago to be able to work online. I said, hey, that's a good idea. And then I just, got my nose to the grindstone and started going and started working. And it takes work, it takes time, but you can eventually get yourself there where you have multiple income streams coming in. You have a diversified portfolio. You have different things going on. And then eventually, hopefully, you can find the stuff that you really enjoy. And that pulls in money too, because that's important.
Right. Cool. No, that's a great topic. And I think we are live on the watch party over in the self-publishing DIY, or is that right? No, self-publishing books group.
What's up, Dale's group?
Facebook.
We love all
Yes.
you guys.
Yeah,
Love Dale. Dale always gets a shout out, but Dale is just super cool. Thanks for your support.
Dale is super
love the
cool.
group.
And Jordan, so the topic of the night is writing your first book in 2020, and that does remind me. This is something maybe we can talk about in future episodes. The upsides and downsides of working from home and having a digital sort of entrepreneurial lifestyle, because I think that's something that is easy to romanticize, but as somebody doing it, and you and I have both been in that world in various degrees, and there are trade-offs. I mean, that's something that you graciously asked me to write a foreword to your recent book on, finding that balance point. And
I love that forward. You did a great job, by the way. I think
thank
a
you.
little shout out to all the people.
Right.
Rob did a great job writing the forward. I always appreciate anyone that does that because I know it takes time. So I just give you a shout out. I appreciate you and thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. My pleasure. And everybody else, I want to give a shout out to the book, which is also great. And anybody who's curious about trying to find a good balance point and navigate different priorities and different goals and that kind of thing. Jordan, I think, has a really good take on it and has weighed in on it in a way that is honest, is authentic, but constructive. Neither of us are gurus. Neither of us claim to be, Pat Flynn or I don't know, whatever lifestyle entrepreneur out there. We're regular folks trying to build something and grow something. And, we're working in a way that's hopefully ethical and with a high standard and all of that to build a life and to build a lifestyle. So good book for anybody who's interested in checking that out. And, and you also get to read a couple of words that I shared on it. So feel free to do that. So anyway, one of to wrap that up, that's something we can talk about. So some of the trade-offs, because it's not always rosy, and maybe that's helpful. Kind of just like the video that we did earlier on, which actually got a reasonable number of views on the yay or nay of no content book publishing or low content book publishing. Having a little bit of a contrarian take, can be helpful. Not just because we want to get clicks or something, but to balance it out, because again, there is a lot of romanticization. It's easy to imagine what it might be like and what it would look like to have your income totally from home. In the same way, maybe that some people imagine that they're going to write their masterpiece and then sit back and relax and collect the paycheck. Like it doesn't always work out that way. We hope it does, and if it does for you, then that's super cool and great. But more often, it's going to be still a lot of doing things that you don't necessarily love to do, but within the context of something that you've intentionally decided and serving a bigger goal and a bigger vision for yourself. So, okay. All right. So today we are going to talk about writing a book in 2020, which might help you with that digital entrepreneurship goal. And we want to go over some of the tools that you might need, how you can determine how to write what topic you want to write about, what sort of market research you need to do, any particular strategies for getting over writer's block or getting over that, especially if this is your first book, if this is the first time that you are ever putting pen to paper or finger to keyboard and trying to put something out there that hopefully somebody is going to be interested enough to purchase and, they want to engage with that content. So we're going to talk about some of that. And then maybe toward the end of the show, actually, we'll answer some questions, because we did promise if you leave comments in the YouTube channel description and any of the videos that we do, any of these live videos, we're going to do our best to address them. So we do have a comment there, but let's jump into the topic of the night. And given that you are overseas and you are, it is rather late, we may not keep this one going for too terribly long, but we'll see how it goes. So Jordan, would you like to start with any intro ideas on that topic?
I think intro ideas, I would say the thing you got to think about the most is maybe you have this thought, you're like, hey, I want to write a book in 2020. That's what that's what we're making this video of. But I think the first question to ask yourself is why. And I think actually doing an exercise and typing this out as a journal entry or something can be super helpful. Why are you writing the book? Maybe you have a business that you want to expand upon. Rob and I talked about some really cool ways to use your book as a business card. We talked about that, I think, maybe in the last video 2 weeks ago. I believe it was the last one.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe. Yeah. And there were some good ideas there, but I think really starting from your point, why are you writing the book? Is it to write your first fantasy novel, or is it to expand your business? I think there's a lot of different reasons, and I think maybe you know that intrinsically, but asking yourself those questions of really why, because if your reason is to make a quick buck, and I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying to question that as you go in, because writing a book takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time. There's a lot of things you need to figure out. You can get help along the way, but it's going to rely on a lot of your time and energy and hustle and money and those things to get it all together and to get that finished product out. So really just question why. Why are you writing a book? Like we talked about, there's a lot of different reasons too. And I'm not saying your reasons are wrong. I'm just saying for you to internalize that, and it's going to give you that momentum to be able to do that. I talk a lot about this in my book, Volcanic Momentum, Rob, about just really starting with why. Why are you doing this goal? Why are you starting this habit? It may be an obvious thing, but if you don't have an intrinsic core reason to do what you're doing, I think we can liken it back to what we were talking about. If I don't have a core reason for wanting to travel and become a digital nomad and do those different things, I don't think it wouldn't mean the same thing to me if I didn't really know why I was doing it. And I have a lot of different reasons. I'm not going to go into those, but I think just knowing what it is for you, and I always just think that's such a good and important place to start. And then when you go from there, there's all kinds of different things you can do once you say, yes, I do have a good reason to write a book, I want to do it. And then maybe we can talk a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great summary of my thoughts of it as well. Having a vision, having an idea, having a concept of what you're trying to accomplish is really helpful, because it can inform the rest of the process. It can smooth things out, make it a lot easier. It may be that you want to write a book because you have all these ideas kind of jumbled up in your head, and you kind of just want to sort them out. And then, maybe you've been researching a particular topic or idea or a field of inquiry, and you're like, well, gosh, man, I've read so many different things, I don't even know how to make sense of them. And you think, all right, well, maybe if I make an outline, if I start charting my thoughts, I can worry about transitions and smoothing it out and introductions and all of that later, but I can help create this book that's going to kind of summarize what I'm thinking or clarify what I'm thinking. You're learning a new instrument, or you're learning about the history of a particular industry or a particular place or people or something like that. So, that can be really, really helpful. So figuring that out, I think, is a really good idea. It's something I've shared before as well. And this is a little, again, of that, a bit of that contrary advice is, if you're thinking about writing a book, don't, which is to say, if you have to think about it, if you're trying to come up with reasons, if you're trying to, force yourself to, get in that mindset, maybe now is not the right time. Oftentimes, for some people, and again, not for everybody and not for all goals, for some people, it is something that they just have to do. They just have all these thoughts. They need to get it out. They need to almost let it go and put it on page and then kind of exercise those demons, because otherwise they're just bouncing around in your head all the time and not letting you go on and be productive and do whatever else it is with your life. So for some people, it is something that's just burning inside of them. They can't help but to write, and a lot of times those are the people who are just serial content creators. They are the bloggers out there, the tweeters out there, people who are really active on social media. I mean, one of our clients, for example, is Tommy Baker, and he's worked with us on a couple of projects. He's got a pretty active following, and he has pretty long and thoughtful, inspiring, motivational, reflective pieces on Facebook. That's just his social media platform of choice. And, it's just something he has to do. I mean, another example is a naturopath I'm familiar with, who puts his kind of ongoing research. He's looking into new things. He'll post studies and commentary on it. It's just something he has to do. It's a way also to help kind of categorize and classify what he's learning. It's like, okay, that's the information on this topic. And then here's another information on this topic. He makes use of tags and so forth. And so, it's just something that is almost a storage depot for these ideas that are evolving and in motion, before the whole idea is put together, before the comprehensive, project is put together. And, if that's you, then that's great. And those blog posts, those social media entries, those can be kind of the basis for some of the chapters of your book, and that's cool. And it gets you in the habit of writing, and it gets you in the habit of creating content, and it gives you kind of real-time feedback. What are people reading? What are people responding to? What's being, retweeted and shared and commented on? And then you can start to find that sweet spot between what you love to talk about, what's important to you, that is also simultaneously serving the needs of your audience, and again, it is a sort of sweet spot because you don't want to follow the needs of an imagined audience so much that you're not talking about things that are meaningful to you anymore. But at the same time, you don't want something that's only meaningful to you. You need to have something that has some wider relevance. And, in many cases, if you're really passionate about a subject, you have some bigger reason. There's something about, whatever it is that you're studying that's hopefully going to help you and maybe other people live a better, more fulfilling, richer, healthier life. And so that sweet spot might be found in those, in that overlap.
Yeah, I think it's really important to consider what that sweet spot will be. And then with that being said, Rob, we'll link out to this in the link section of the video description. But I think it's really important to as far as when you're starting to think of topic ideas, go to our video where you and I actually went on Amazon and we looked at different ways to think about topic ideas. It's not just what's in your head. You got to make sure at least somewhat what you were just saying there, that someone else is going to be interested in it. And a great way to do that is to see what other books are selling on Amazon. What books are #1 bestsellers in their category? If they're selling on Amazon and selling well, that's a pretty good sign that that topic is of interest to people. And then even if you write a similar book on a similar topic, you are going to be a very specific expert. You're going to reach people that no one else can. I believe that to my core. In your varying levels of skill sets with that, maybe you are just starting out, maybe you're a super expert, or maybe you're somewhere in the middle. You're going to be able to talk to those people that are right there in the middle with you. And I think you can relate in a special way to those kinds of people. So be thinking about that when you're thinking about a book, but also go back and watch our other video if you're looking for, hey, maybe I don't have an idea, burning a hole in my pocket, but maybe I just have this yearning desire to write a book. I want to get a book out there. I want to be a published author. I want to have that in my name. I want to have a physical book in hand that I can bring to conferences or whatnot. When you're and this isn't a cop out by looking at other people's ideas. You're going to create something unique, but it can give you that market research to say, hey, I did a little bit of that. I know I can kind of see what is needed in the market, what's already selling, and how I can put a little bit of a twist on that instead of just coming up with your own ideas just off the cuff. And I think that can be helpful too, but definitely think about comparing those, finding the balance between just your ideas and then the ideas that may already be selling too.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. And so let's move on to another part of what we wanted to talk about today, which was, what tools can you use? Yep. So on that market research idea, we did the video about this recently, but Publisher Rocket is a really great tool. Now, I want to mention Publisher Rocket and then also give you a free or lower cost alternative, which is also something that we've covered in a previous video. Just doing that research on Amazon, just doing that research on Google. Go out there. I mean, you can, and if you have the means and the time and the willingness, you probably should read what else is out there, what the leading books in your genre are, whatever it is that you're thinking about creating. Hopefully you're creating something in a topic that you are aware of and interested in already independently. But even if you're not able to do that, Amazon does give you the option. If you have a Kindle edition, you can preview it. You can look at the table of contents. You can look at the first chapter or first, I think it's 10% or so of the title, and get a sense of, okay, how are they approaching this? What is their target audience? What needs are they serving? And is there something that strikes you immediately as, oh, well, they're missing this, this part of the reading population. They're missing this part of the group of people who are interested in this topic. And maybe you can use that to inform how you approach your title and, the project that you're working on. So again, do that market research, even if it's totally free, if you're just spending time, as long as you have access to Amazon or Google and, a little bit of online, some of those online resources and have some time to access the internet, then that can be your approach. And then again, with Publisher Rocket, it's that sort of tool, but systematized and made a lot more robust and accessible.
Yeah, so I think definitely as far as tools go, Publisher Rocket, we showed a video of me kind of going over that. As far as market research, it's great. But yeah, you can just utilize Amazon itself. That's really, as far as thinking of ideas, that's your #1 go-to tool. Right. Even if you are using KDP Rocket, you can go on Amazon to then research those books more thoroughly. I mean, even in that tool, Dave Chesson, the creator of Publisher Rocket, will give you those links to go, hey, look at this on Amazon. So you can do what Rob was just saying. You can look in the table of contents. You can kind of look to see what the reviews say of that book. We went over that in our idea gathering video too, that we were just talking about. But yeah, maybe there's a section of that book that people just generally dislike. And maybe you're like, hey, I actually happen to be the expert on that subject. I can maybe spend a good bit of your book talking about that. Maybe it's something that people, it will really resonate with people.
Yep. I find that a lot of times the reviews, especially the longer ones, the multiple paragraph kind of reviews, contain really, really valuable market research. These are people who are interested enough in the book and in the topic to spend multiple paragraphs talking about it. And, sometimes it's completely laudatory, and they're like, boy, this is just so good. I love when he talked about this. I loved when he talked about this. I loved when he talked about this. But other times it's, it was really cool. One issue that I take, with this author or this approach is blank. And, maybe they have something that is meaningful, really meaningful feedback. I mean, if you're an author and you are already published, you're hopefully reading those reviews, you're taking the time to listen to what people are saying and taking that to heart and using that to enhance and modify your own future work. And if you haven't created that work yourself, you can do just the same. You can use someone else's criticism, someone else's review, someone else's insight on a book or a topic that is out there and existing already, and take advantage of it, really leverage it. Okay. Yeah. I see that, consistently, there are 10 reviews and 4 of them mention that, they want to look at not just nutrition for athletes, but what do you do specifically when, you are pregnant or, something. And maybe that becomes a focus of your book. That you want to write about this, and you can make sure to add a chapter or 2 chapters or whatever to really address that existing market deficiency, because that's going to help you to provide value to your readers and to stand out and differentiate yourself.
Cool. Yeah. Just to mention some other resources I use. I write all my books in Google Docs. I do that just because it gives me the ability to kind of work on it. If I think of ideas from my phone, wherever I am, if I switch computers for some reason, I can just pull it up and it's right there. Not everyone likes Google Docs for its functionality, but as far as being able to have something there to access through all devices, it tends to work pretty good. Yep. A lot of other authors will use a program called Scrivener, which I've never used myself, but that's something. It gives you the ability to kind of write your book from there. I don't know all the values of that, Rob. I don't know if you've heard about Scrivener or know anything about that. I'm not familiar. I just know people use it.
Yeah, I'm just a tiny bit familiar with Scrivener. It seems to Scrivener seems to have a built-in set of tools, some editing capacity and kind of additional proofreading capacity on top of just like the spell checker and that kind of thing. I was listening to a podcast recently. It was actually a presentation from a friend of the show, Hassan Osman, and his Writer on the Side podcast. He had a book on this similar topic, writing your first book in the new year. And he uses Microsoft Word. That's what I use. If you have access to Microsoft Word, it's great. The Google Doc alternative is nice because it's free as long as you have a Google account. And and for the cross-platform functionality and cross-device functionality that you mentioned, Jordan. But yeah, he mentioned that he just found it a lot easier to go back to Microsoft Word. He started with it, went over to Scrivener, came back, and it was. Microsoft Word is a good platform for formatting your own book as well. If you, if you don't use more specialized software like Adobe InDesign. And so, he found that exporting it and bringing it back over and then doing the formatting that way, it worked out easier for him to use Microsoft Word. And that's feedback that I've seen elsewhere as well. So if folks out there, if you have experience with Scrivener, if you love it, if you don't love it, please let us know in the comments. We're happy to hear that sort of information and use it to refine our recommendations. If there are really good things about it that you can't do with other programs, or things that you struggled with on that program that you found easier elsewhere, we'd love to hear about that. But anyway, so Microsoft Word or some sort of word processing software is going to be a helpful requirement. Again, Google Docs is nice because it is cross-platform. It's free. Microsoft Word does require a license. There are some open source alternatives out there, but Microsoft Word just is what I'm most familiar with.
Yep. I also use a program called Trello that I know I've mentioned before. I use it to write the outlines of my books, and I think it's an interesting way of just categorizing data and keeping your points, and I keep quotes in there and everything. Basically, versus using a lot of people will write their outlines on a Google Doc or Microsoft Word, and I think that it may get like a little bit too long. I like being able to move the cards around. It's something I suggest people do or try just to see if it works for you. I like being able to kind of organize my chapters by cards and then type in information and save links and save quotes. I think I have a video on that somewhere that if I do have one, I'll link to it in the comments here. But just another way of organizing everything. And to me, it really helps because, that's how I can write a book. When I decide to write a book, I can write a book pretty quickly because I have the outline done. I have it all ready to go. I have kind of my chapter ideas. I don't have everything down in concrete. Sometimes you need to start the book before you really figure out what the book's about.
Mm-hmm.
That's a, important piece of advice, but, having things organized and knowing what you're going to talk about, knowing what quotes you're going to use and all that stuff, if you do the work ahead of time, it can make your actual project time a lot less because you have everything there. You're not hitting, and I know this is something else we said we would talk about, but for me, doing an outline and having it all ready to go is the biggest way to avoid writer's block.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, if I'm going to sit down, I already know what I'm writing about. If I go and sit down and I just sit there and I need to write today, that doesn't work for me because I don't know what I'm writing about. I don't have anything. I don't generally just write like off the cuff. I think it's different when you're and I'm sure some fantasy authors have an outlining structure, but I think there may be more of a, I'm just going to sit down and write this scene today and not really know what it's about until I start.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when I write nonfiction, I have an idea, maybe not a fully fleshed out idea because I'm writing it and it's not edited yet. But for me, if I have, already have kind of a chapter header, what I'm going to be talking about with some quotes, it can really help get you started. And sometimes that's all you need. You just need a quote, maybe a sentence of what the whole chapter overview, your main point in the beginning. And then it's easier just to start from there and start tapping away on a story and whatever else you want to write in there.
Right.
But yeah, you have anything else to say on? I kind of jumped topics there pretty quick.
No, that's fine.
I don't know if you were done with the resources section.
I'm great. I'm good with the resource section, cool. And we will put all this information down below, and I will do my best to keep track and summarize it as well for anybody out there who is just listening to this recording at the end. So yes, dealing with writer's block. That's a good question. So part of it, I have a couple of thoughts. Part of it is figuring out that why. So going back to that why, once you have that, can be really helpful. Creating an outline can be really helpful. Another thing that some people find works really well is just setting aside a block of time. And you can do kind of either a block of time or a word threshold that you're trying to reach, and just kind of force yourself. Okay, every day I'm going to do 500 words or 1,000 words or 5,000 words or however many that makes sense for you. And that can be really helpful. Other people say, okay, I'm going to do 30 minutes, or I'm going to do 30 minutes in the morning and 30 minutes at night. And whatever happens, that's fine. I'm going to turn off distractions. My phone won't be nearby. My family will know that I'm going to be occupied. And, outside of an emergency, this is focus time. And you force yourself to do that. You turn off your Wi-Fi, no browsing, nothing idle to kind of, distract you. And what I've found when I've done this with a little bit of writing that I've practiced is sometimes you don't really have much, but if you force yourself to close off all those other distractions, you just kind of sit and you let ideas percolate. And maybe you don't end up getting a whole lot down. Maybe you end up just going back to your previous day's writing or previous week's writing and editing or taking notes or jotting things down. And that's totally fine too, because that can be part of the process of helping get over it. So that would be the other recommendation that I have for avoiding writer's block. Make it routine, make it a habit. Figure out what works for you, either time threshold or word count threshold. Connecting with your vision, connecting with your why, and then outlining beforehand, and then just determining how you. Maybe it's as simple as you have an outline. You've got a bunch of different chapter ideas, and maybe the next chapter coming up. You don't really, your headspace isn't there. You don't really want to talk about that. So you jump around, and that's fine because, the editing part of your mind and the writing part of your mind are different, and you don't have to combine them. And so you can, kind of make the pieces fit together later. You might write chapter 8 today and chapter 2 tomorrow. And that's not going to hurt, as long as you have, as you're continuing to make progress, and, hopefully you have good editing behind you, whether it's yourself or a team or, somebody else that you trust to help you kind of get over that hump. Those would be my ideas on avoiding writer's block. And then I guess the final one is, like I mentioned before, if you are not driven to do it, then maybe writing a book right now isn't the reason. It isn't your best use of time and energy. Oftentimes, you'll know when you're kind of efforting it versus when you're in a flow state, or it's something that you are meant to do. And so it may make sense to accept that feedback and say, okay, you know what, I'm kind of forcing it right now, and this isn't it. So let me spend some time. Maybe you still block out those 30 minutes of reflective time morning and night, and you think, okay, well, if a book isn't on my agenda, really, if that isn't where my heart is, I'll use this time to figure out what is. And, you block out your distractions, you take some notes, and you figure out, okay, what is it that I want to be doing with myself? That, again, depending on your goals, might help with your writing, helping build your business or so forth. But that's totally fine too. So, those are some writer's block thoughts.
Yeah, and I think just one more note with writer's block. I think if you're getting to the point where you're like, I'm gonna spend that 30 minutes, but I'm not really sure where to go, you can just do something as simple as writing bullet points out. I mean, for me, sometimes if I I don't feel that I don't have the energy to put sentences together, but if I just type in a bullet, I just type a bullet and I just start just writing ideas down, and that can be an extension of your outline, or it could be something, you start turning that in. Maybe you write 10 bullet points, and okay, after 10, I'm going to start writing. To me, sometimes it really is easier in your brain just to, okay, I don't have to formulate a sentence. I'm just getting all my ideas out, whatever I'm thinking right now. And then you can go back and take that and work it into kind of a more sentence structure from there. But I think it's important just to start somewhere with that. Don't feel so stuck that you can't move forward.
Yeah, whatever can help you get some momentum and get things on the page. You can tweak it, revise it, cut it entirely later. But if you are creating new content, new things to work with, it just gives you grist to develop as time goes on. So if it's helping you do that, then continue to do that. Cool. Okay, so so we talked about why to write in 2020. We talked a little bit about some tools to use, writing software, researching software. We talked about getting over writer's block. And so let's talk a little bit about, let's say you've completed your book and you've got it edited. We've addressed editing on other videos, and maybe we'll talk about it more if there's interest down the line. But let's say you've completed your book and you're like, all right, great, I've got a book. What do I do next? Jordan, what do I do next?
You contact Archangel Ink. Yeah. I mean, you get yourself some help for that next step. You either get help or you figure out how to do the editing, just like you were saying. You figure out how to do the formatting. I mean, there's a lot of different steps that you need to do to get that. Even if you aren't going to traditionally publish it, if you choose to self-publish it, there's still a lot of steps you got to do. You got to get all your got to get all your files ready to go, and then you got to figure out how to upload the thing to Amazon or whatever other platform you're going to do that. You want to consider whether you're going to get an audiobook. There's a lot of different questions that you're going to have. Do I put it on KDP Select or not? Do I want to do a hardcover too? I mean, those are all questions that we've addressed before and talked about before, but really, you want to just start getting help or start to figure out how to DIY a lot of those things, because there's going to be a lot of things that come up. But
so the next side would be kind of the post-production technical side. So on the formatting front, again, if we're talking about tools and resources, Google Docs or Microsoft Word work really well. The program that we use generally these days for our purposes is Adobe InDesign. If you're familiar with that, that's a really good one. They offer a lot of functionality and additional customization options. But if you're interested in doing it just with Microsoft Word or Google Docs, we do have a blog post where I go over some of that, what's involved, the importance of good formatting, of having good formatting in your book and not turning your readers off by giving them something that doesn't look like it's professionally done. And then there's also a couple of videos on the basics of that, and we have some resources. I will mention a couple of them. One is the Archangel Ink skeleton file, and then you can find that and download it for free, archangelink.com/skeleton. And you can also download the basic interior template file. And I believe it used to be archangelink.com/CS interior, but it's no longer CreateSpace. So I might have changed that that URL. So I will include a link down to it after this recording. But you can find it on the Archangel Ink blog if you look up archangelink.com/blog and kind of search through our. We have a post on formatting, and we include some links to those files, those template files in there, as well as the videos that kind of outline what that looks like. And
you can also go to archangelink.com/resources as well. And then there's resources for, I think, editing, formatting, marketing, and beyond. So if you're wondering, not sure where to find a file, that is a good starting point.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, cool. So so we've got the first thing. I've decided I want to write a book. You know, I have a why. I have some sort of purpose. I have a vision in mind. I've looked into the market. I figured out something that people are interested in, that I think that there is some need for, and something that's going to match a passion or an interest of mine. And then I've gotten down to writing. I've got the software that I need. I did the market research. I did some writing. I figured out how to get over writer's block. I've got this all produced, and I have done the technical back end of it. I've formatted. I've got files ready to go. I've chosen my platform. I've uploaded, and now the book is out in the world. And now I'm thinking about, okay, well, how do I get a little bit of momentum? How do I get some sales? How do I get eyeballs on it? Jordan, our marketing man over at Archangel Ink, what are some good, first, I guess, low or no cost options, and then maybe some different tiers of options for people who are writing that book and getting it out there for the first time?
Sure. The first thing I will say is don't wait until the end of the process when you go to upload your book and you have it out there, and then you're like, oh, I need to think about marketing. Think about marketing like we were talking about with thinking of an idea. You're thinking of marketing at that point because you're thinking what can sell. So as you're thinking that, don't then stop and not do any marketing until you have your book ready to go. Be thinking of marketing along the whole way, because it's going to be up to you. It's not going to be up to the Amazon gods. It's not going to be up to, you know, someone coming in and saying, wow, your book's amazing. Let me buy 20,000 copies. That's not going to happen, you know, especially overnight. So be thinking of it as you go all along the process. But as far as tiers go, we do have different levels of packages within Archangel Ink that you can get. You can look at our website, archangelink.com/packages. But as far as things you can do on your own without any help, really optimizing your sales page on Amazon. That's going to be your number one thing. If you want to look up resources on how to write a good book description that sells, there's resources out there that can help you with that. We even have a blog post on doing 2 things that you can optimize your Amazon page right away. So definitely give that a read. Look at our blog and check that out. But think about, you know, first level. You know, think about marketing as you go. If you want help, there's certainly something we can help you with. There's other people out there that may be able to lend a hand. If you're watching from the self-publishing books, you know you're already in a good group. If you want to know of a really good Facebook group to be on, it's Dale Roberts' Self-Publishing Books group. If you do request to join that, make sure that you answer his questions. They're very simple questions. If you don't answer the questions when you're joining the group, you won't be allowed to join. Imagine that. But yeah, make sure you're answering the questions there. They're not too complicated. They just want to make sure you're not like a bot or anything coming to join the group that's going to cause.
Come in with you know, with an open heart and some sincerity, and you'll be welcomed warmly.
So yeah, just join that group. There's a lot of good stuff in there. People can help you out. Definitely reach out and connect with people. But yeah, as far as easy things you can do, optimize that sales page, and then start to come up with some kind of marketing plan.
So when I'm coming up with a marketing plan, I'm thinking about launching my book. You know, I want to be some sort of warrior when it comes to it. Perhaps maybe like a gladiator of some sort when it comes to launching my book. What can I do if that's me?
Well, if that's you, you can jump into my book called Book Launch Gladiator. Some of the stuff in there is outdated, as I published it in the beginning of 2018. And there's some links in that are outdated, but for the most part, I wrote it so that you can build from scratch as a new author, just with an idea of how to make a platform. You can get that book and Rob's book in digital version if you go to archangelink.com/ESP. ESP. That will put you into the Entrepreneur's Starter Package, which ESP stands for.
That's right.
You can get both Rob's book and my book there for free. It just joins you on our list, and you get a ton of awesome, epic content beyond that as well. So definitely do that and give those books a read. And that should be enough to get you started. And as always, if you have additional questions, and I'm sure everyone does. Everyone has questions that come up. Things change. That I don't know about this. What about this? Connect with us. We'd be glad to help you the best that we can.
Yep. Yeah, we do our best to keep on top of current trends, current issues, current concerns that people have, and what's going on in the industry. And we do offer free consultation. So if you want to work with us, or even if you don't want to work with us, feel free to reach out. And we do offer that free consultation. So we're happy to help and share some ideas and help maximize your own efforts. What we want to do, especially if you elect not to work with us, or at this time, we want to amplify your own research.
Yep.
It's when you get us on the phone, we're happy to answer, hey, what is Amazon KDP? What does KDP stand for? We can do that, although that is probably not the best use of our time or your time. Those things you can find out on your own. But if you come to us and say,
those
hey,
are Googleable.
those are Googleable questions. Absolutely. But if you come to us and say, hey, I'm thinking about writing this book. I don't know if I want to, create a series of it, or you just use it as a lead magnet. How do I kind of weigh those different options? Those are helpful next level questions that we're happy to weigh in on and receive your feedback on, because part of it's going to depend on what your goals are and what your individual situation is, and that's helpful. The other thing that Jordan and I do very reliably is we are on Archangel Ink live videos, and including this one. So you can leave some comments and questions down below, and if we miss you during the live recording, we will do our best to address them in subsequent videos. Feel free to engage with us on our Facebook page as well. But on that note, we do have a question, which I alluded to at the earlier part of this video, and it's from a friend of the channel and someone who's commented a couple of times before and spoken with Archangel Ink, and he had some questions. And this is once again Josh Agassi. And Jordan, I want to read this off to you. Josh, thanks for reaching out. Happy to have you contact us. And I will do my best to summarize and ask these questions and see what you think, Jordan, and I can weigh in as well. Josh, again, love this video as well as your Publisher Rocket intro video. Thank you, Josh. We appreciate that. Got a few questions and concerns if you've got the time. Does it make sense to start one when I haven't published anything yet? I'm still in the writing process too, so I don't see myself even using it much until I'm done. And this is on the video on using a book or using an author newsletter to build this. So I'm still in the writing process. Yeah. What do you think, Jordan? Is it a good idea to start an email list before you have a book already published, or is that something that comes further down the road?
Yes, start your email list as soon as you possibly can. As far as getting a marketing plan, as far as first steps, that's definitely one that you want to do right away. You can do it for free. Again, I think you can do it for free on MailChimp still. I still haven't checked that out, but I believe you can go for free on MailChimp up to 2,000. So there's no reason that you shouldn't at least start that. If you're thinking about marketing and thinking about doing it eventually, you might as well do it now. You should build a website now and start to get that up there. Not to overwhelm you with things to do. You don't have to do it tonight. But as far as like marketing plans and things, getting a website, getting an email list, at least it's building that foundation for yourself. It's not so you have to go and do that so then you can spend all your time writing blog posts and chasing down email leads. No, it's not necessarily, because those aren't necessarily the best steps, but having your platform at least there and at least built at least that bottom layer, so that, hey, if people ask you, hey Josh, I heard you're writing a book, I'd love to hear updates. You don't go, what do I do? Or
just text me sometime. I'll let you know what's going on. Like that's hard. Yeah. That's hard to do.
I mean, maybe no one is going to say that to you, and that's fine. That might happen, but you may get people that, I've had people say, hey, Jordan, I want to hear updates on this, and I'm able to. Here you go to my website, sign up for my list there. You'll get some bonuses, and then you'll be on that. Not everybody does that, but it gives you that, and it gives you that place for people to go.
Right. Yeah. And so, having, I would say, have your own website if you don't already, and then have that email opt-in, and you can have it really just as a placeholder website, like, authorjosh.com. Yep. Welcome to the digital home of author Josh Agassi. And, I write about X, Y, and Z. And here, if you'd like to stay updated on everything that's going on and on future book updates, sign up for the email list down below. Just have that in place. And, as you mentioned, if it is a 2,000 contact list limit, you're good. Like if you have more than 2,000 and you have to, start paying for your email list, that's a good problem to have. Don't worry about, outpacing yourself yet. If it comes, all the better. And if it doesn't, then you have it in place, and you're also approaching your financial outlay in a reasonable tiered manner. So yes, it is a good idea to have that. And if you do have an opt-in, some sort of opt-in, then that's great. And maybe the opt-in is only, hey, sign up for the email list for notification when my new book comes out or when my new content comes out, and it could be the host for, my future blog or whatever, any of those things. You can do this again in stages, but but if you can get it started, that is going to be helpful.
Yeah, and Rob, I think that's a good potential topic for a future live, is how to set up a basic author website. I was thinking maybe Josh, you may or may not have this question, but you mentioned this earlier, Rob. You mentioned, hey, he could do like authorjosh.com. And I think when you're thinking about setting up an author website, that's our recommendation. Set up something for your author name, or if you have a business already, that can work. But you don't necessarily want to do it just for your book. You can have a landing page for your book,
right?
But you want something that's going to build a platform. If you build the platform off of one book, you're going to have to make a new website, a new email list, and whatever every time you release a book. Right. You can do it for the series. You have that series on your website. You can say Author Josh, and then the series, but it's still, that platform is your website. So that's what just a potential other question you may have. I'm sure there are other ones related to website building and all that, but
yeah, I think it's a good idea. One thing I will add as an add-on to that is, if you do want to have a specific URL for your for a book launch, or a program or something you have going on, you can create what's called a vanity site, a vanity URL, which basically is a redirect, and it can bring you back to that main page. So it might be, authorjosh.com is your main site, but book one of the awesome saga.com is going to redirect you over to that page, to something, a specific landing page within that general thing, and or that general broader website, and give you a chance to sign up for a generalized listserv, or even a segmented listserv, which is something we don't have to get into very much, but many email programs offer you the chance to segment your list into people coming from different places or interested in different topics, but you're still kind of the overall gatekeeper. And that's something as a more advanced tactic as you build and develop your website and your email list and so forth, you can get into. But anyway, okay. So next part of this question: how often should I post, and would you be able to provide me with any guidance on what to post? I'm very new to this world and don't use many social media sites, so any help would be greatly appreciated. I would say at least once a month is a good target. Probably once every week or two is probably decent as well. The more when it comes to your email list, and I would say the less frequently you post, the more substantive you want it to be. So if you're posting every day, maybe you can get away with a paragraph or two. Have a quote, have some sort of image or something going on in current events, and then something related to your author brand. If you're posting every week or every 2 weeks or every month, then maybe you really want to talk about what the process is like for an emerging author. Like, hey, I've been working on this part of this book, and I've been workshopping these things, and I've gone to this workshop, and and maybe you start talking about other workshops that you can go to, strategies that you're using, other networking that you're doing with authors. Maybe the people on this listserv are, before you have your content out there, maybe they're interested in the behind the scene part of writing a book. And, maybe that becomes the content that you're building while you're actually building the fiction content that you're working on. So, there are lots of different approaches. I think you can experiment with it and figure out what seems authentic and easy and real to you. And again, going back to the beginning here, what is your why? Why are you building this email list? Hopefully you have something that you want to say, something that you want to share, and this isn't just a perfunctory part of, okay, I guess I have to do this because I want to get some money. Hopefully you have a bigger mission than that. Obviously we all need to eat. We all need to provide for ourselves. But, why are you choosing this as opposed to, the next option that you have, on your list of many options? And if you can connect with that and use your writing, your email list, as well as any blog posts or social media to remain connected with that, then that can help inform your content creation.
Yep, and I think specifically for you, Josh, and actually this could apply to other people as well, but I think it may be helpful to look at what other people in your genre are doing. If you can find maybe say 10 other authors, see what their websites look like, see how often they're posting, you go to their social medias and see how often they're posting there. And then you can get ideas as to what type of content, maybe even join their email list. This is something I have on my list to do in 2020, even more. Go to other self-publishing websites and authors, go to other personal growth or the other things I'm writing about, go to those websites and see what the truly successful people are doing and how they're working at. I think that's just a great strategy for anyone. But in your situation, when you're trying to answer those questions, and you can emulate, you don't have to match exactly. You don't have to you don't have to do exactly what the top dark fantasy or whatever subject you're in. I believe it's something close to dark fantasy, but you don't have to do exactly what they're doing. But you can kind of emulate and see, hey, maybe I can interact with them, and potentially interact with their audience too, if it's in a similar niche. That's just something to think about too for you.
Yeah, and you can use that as respectful, sort of content ideas, like, hey, what's going on in the world of this genre? Like, what's going on in the world of fiction? What are the top authors writing about, thinking about, talking about? Here's my commentary on it, and you can use it, and it can be helpful for those authors as well, because you're generating additional interest and driving traffic over back to them, letting people know about what they're offering. So you don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel. You don't have to come up with fully original content. It can be commentary and additional supplemental material, and that can be just fine as well. Whatever it is, though, find your sweet spot. Find something that's going to be satisfying and workable for you, and work on that, and be consistent about it.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Next question. Should I use my personal email for my mailing list, or should I make a separate one? Security is a big concern, but I like to keep things simple, if that makes sense. That's going to be up to you. It may make sense to have a business email. I know that I do, and Archangel Ink does, and everybody on the Archangel Ink team who has an Archangel Ink email. We have our own business related one, and but yeah, it's thinking about it. Probably is a good idea, just to create that. And especially if you're doing that in conjunction with building your own website, or your own platform, then many times you can, like we have, our archangelink.com email addresses, then that's a way to redirect people. That's a subtle way to market over to people. Anytime you send that email out, they're like, oh, that's an interesting domain name. Maybe they don't know you, or maybe you're reaching out to someone that's not already a part of your list, and then they visit your website because they say, oh, okay, what is archangelink.com? And they check it out there. So that would be my recommendation. What do you think, Jordan?
No, I definitely agree with you. I was thinking while you were talking, and what's going to look more professional too, Jordan at archangelink.com or jordanfruitloops@gmail.com.
Right.
That's not my Gmail. But if you think about, you're going to be giving this out to people, and maybe your email is very professional already. I don't know. One of my personal emails is just my name, so it's not. It looks professional. I would have no problem using that. Right. But I think if you're doing this, you're going to get emails in. You're going to be building that business. You don't want to. It's just easier to have those two separated. Right. And if you are building your own website, you can easily get an email that's just your name at your website. And that looks very professional because, again, what Rob was just saying, at archangelink.com, it's right there. It's for people that may not even know you have your own website. All of a sudden, you have an email coming in and they say, hey, I want to check that website out. It's just another layer to your marketing.
Yes, and on that note, I want to mention as well the a little tip, and it's a little bit more widely known maybe than it was a few years ago when I first came across it, and that is use your email signature as an additional tool for marketing. So, you can send people over to your website, to your social media, to, you can have some sort of quote or something about it, about what you are and your brand. And so that's going out every time. So you don't have to think about it. And then people who are curious, people who are engaging with you, they can see it. It's unobtrusive because they know it's automatically filled in there, but it's there. And it is a subtle way to remind folks what else you have available, and possibly engage with you on that, on those channels.
Cool.
All right. So are there ways I can drive revenue through emails aside from my books? I know you mentioned the importance of engaging, and I agree with the sentiment. Just curious if there's something else I'm missing that'll get people excited in the process. So the first thought that I had in driving revenue through emails is going to be affiliate marketing. And, a lot of times you'll have people who have really well built out email list, and they'll have affiliate relationships with people, and and you can generate money from that. If you have a valuable product or service that you can recommend to people, then and people go ahead and purchase it through your affiliate link, then you get a commission. And I'm not going to get too much into affiliate marketing here. There's tons of resources online. You can read all about that. But that's one thing I will mention. Though, in order to do that and do that effectively, you have to have credibility, and you have to have that trust and rapport. I know you shared a story, Jordan, about I think it was like a 4-figure kind of product or something that you were thinking about from someone whose email list you were on. So if you want to share a little bit about that as an example.
Yeah, I mean, I think I shared that in one of our earlier videos. It's just an email list that I followed for a while. I haven't even interacted. I've just been reading it. I haven't responded. I've looked at his website and done that stuff. But he sent out an email about a potential course that I was interested in that was about $1,200, and I seriously considered it. I didn't end up doing it. I may do it down the line. But even just the fact that I considered that shows you the power of email marketing and just helping people and helping people or entertaining people. Some people run email lists off of solely entertaining and potentially just sending daily jokes to people. There are those lists out there. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but there's a myriad of different ways you can make money with that. And as Rob said, you could start with something as simple as affiliate marketing and doing reviews of other books in your genre. You can post those as on your blog. I mean, what a great way potentially to get people that are interested in your books. If they're interested in another dark fantasy series, you can say, hey, I'm going to post my review of this book. Here's why you might, go on Amazon and get this. There are people that for book review of whatever book or book summary of, and that will go on Google, and that could potentially give you some organic traffic. There are a few book reviews that I've done on my site that get daily organic traffic when people are looking up those books, and I have the affiliate link there. Now I don't get a ton from that, but if you're just thinking about ways to potentially add revenue and start to build a business, that's just one. It may seem complicated at first, and it is to really get it going, but to set up those links, especially with an Amazon, are pretty simple.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I will mention, just because I know some people have run afoul of Amazon, you may need to check their terms, because sending links that are affiliate links through emails are not allowed or may not be allowed. So again, just check it out. Right, exactly. So link people over to your blog post and reproduce the blog post. Tease your blog post, and then send people over to your website, and on the blog post you can have those affiliate links. So just check that out, and check out the terms and conditions, and all the different affiliate programs that are out there. Have different ones, and figure out which ones are going to make sense. But Jordan, I love that idea of doing book reviews and talking about what's going on in your genre, talking about what's going on in the arena that you're interested in and you're writing through. Then that gives people an opportunity to, one, build rapport with you, because they get to read your writing and know what you're about, know your take on things. And, maybe they say, boy, I love Josh's point about, that author, or, yeah, that was a really good part of that book. And I love how he described, the plot development, or, whatever it was, the progression of this character arc, and why it had such emotional resonance. And, you can talk about all these different aspects of it. It gives people a chance to do that. It gives you a chance to engage with potentially other people in your field as well, because there aren't that many people writing book reviews out there compared to however many people are reading it. So you write a good book review, and maybe it gets a little bit of traction, and maybe suddenly you're on the radar of the of that person. So I'll give one example. The Mike Cernovich, who we worked with on Guerrilla Mindset, he has a blog post on his website of Scott Adams' book, How to Fail at Mostly Everything and Still Win Big, I think is the title of the book. And he had it's a really good book. I ended up reading it largely because of Mike's recommendation, but it was probably a 1,500, 2,000 word review of the book. And, he talks about different, mindset things and things related to what his audience is interested in, and why this book was helpful and constructive, and what you can take out of it, and some constructive feedback for it. And, so he kind of approached it that way. And then, and he talks about this later on, it was sort of designed, but not explicit. He went on to develop a professional relationship with Scott Adams. He had him featured in, I think, one or two of his documentaries that were produced afterward. And they went on to communicate and write and collaborate on a couple of different things. So doing something like that can be really helpful in building your own brand and networking among the luminaries in your field, the people who are already doing the kind of good work that you like. I wouldn't expect that. I wouldn't go out of my way thinking, all right, well, I wrote one good review. Therefore, Stephen King really should be knocking on my door and feature me on his podcast. Like, it's probably not going to happen. And, you don't want to have that sense of entitlement, but it can help. And especially if you're doing it sincerely, and if you're doing it constructively and doing it thoughtfully, it's going to help build that up. The other good advantage of that is, it gives you regular content and gives you a chance to hone your own craft, your craft of review writing, as well as identifying, what it is about your own genre that you like and what works well and what lands well, and then hopefully incorporating that into your own content that is going to be paid and available for sale and hopefully generate some revenue for you. So those are some additional ideas on way to drive revenue through emails, aside from just promoting his own book. In fact, I want to say one other thing, and that is, I think the ratio that I've heard of self-promotion to non-self-promotion, it's got to be somewhere around 9-to-1 or higher. Nobody is really interested in hearing you talk about yourself, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% of the time. You really should be creating content that's useful. Your stuff is out there, almost as I don't want to say an afterthought, but as an adjunct to everything else that you're doing. You're in this field, you're creating content, you're producing things because you love the topic. You have something to say and something you want to say, and you want to do that. Bonnie Phillips just dropped in. Thanks, Bonnie, for stopping by on the YouTube channel. We appreciate that. So again, if you're doing that, from a self-promotion angle, you may not be very successful.
Thanks for the heart, Bonnie. Sorry,
yes,
I interrupted.
Yeah. No
problem.
Yeah. Awesome. So you definitely don't want to just hawk your books. People are going to buy it or they're not going to buy it. And, badgering them is not going to make them want to buy it more. Instead you have to demonstrate value in other ways and give them reason to believe that you are important to them and that you care and respect about them enough to contribute value to their life. And they hopefully will want to do the same for you. So anything else on that, Jordan?
Nope. I think we covered that one pretty good.
Great. And then lastly, you linked the Smart Passive Income podcast at the bottom of the description. Would you suggest starting a podcast? I have no experience filming and don't own a camera outside of the one on my phone. Would you say maybe table that idea for now, or is it worth the investment? Passive income is very important to me, so I can focus on writing. So I love your advice on this. Okay, so first thought, passive income is a concept that I like and I respect and I appreciate, but I also have a problem with because it's not really passive. You're always going to have to be doing something. The only passive income, and this is only barely passive, I guess, is if you have some sort of trust fund, if you have some money that's allocated that has some sort of guaranteed disbursement that comes out to you all the time. And then even then, you could squander it. There are things that could go wrong. The market could go down. Who knows? That said, I'm going to assume the best of intentions, Josh, and people who use that term and think passive income as in things that you're not trading your time for dollars in a direct sense. It's not like you're getting $5 or $10 or $20 or $50 an hour, but instead you're creating some sort of perpetual products or services or something that people can engage with, that can scale up, that bring in income without you having to actively monitor it on a continuous basis. And so should I do podcasting? Only if you want to do podcasting. I mean, do you listen to podcasts? Do you like podcasts? Is that something that you're engaged with regularly? Some people are, and they just can't get enough of it and can't stop talking about it. So for those people, then yeah, maybe do that. Is it for you? Maybe not. If you're not familiar with it, if you're not comfortable with it, if you don't have experience with it, maybe table it for now. I mean, it could be something worth experimenting with. I'm a big fan and big advocate of when you are starting out, try a lot of different things to figure out what works and what doesn't. You may be surprised to find that you love video casting. You may be surprised that you love podcasting, even though you didn't think you would, and you like that a lot more than blogging, which you were sure was going to be your thing. Or it could be vice versa. And so you can experiment a little bit, dabble with it, see if you like it. But I wouldn't invest too much in it, and I would not put your eggs in that basket prematurely. I mean, I think it's always a good idea to give yourself some flexibility and not go all in unless it's your personality, unless you have a really good reason to believe that it's going to work out. Boldness is great. Fate favors the bold and all of that. But if you're just doing it as an afterthought, or I guess I should do this, maybe don't sacrifice all of that time and energy doing podcast work if you don't feel some sort of calling to it and have some reason to believe that it's going to really facilitate your growth and development as a business person, as an author, as a creator. Yep. So those are some thoughts. What do you think, Jordan?
I was nodding my head in my head. Well, I was nodding my head in the beginning, and then afterward, I was nodding my head in my head. But
yeah.
100% agree with you on that, Rob. Yeah, if you're not interested in podcasting, or you don't think you might be interested, don't start, especially right now.
Right.
My wife and I ran a podcast for about a year, and it was largely a passion project. We had no plans on. Maybe we're like, hey, if randomly this gets a bunch of people, maybe we can monetize this someday. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of time to monetize a podcast. You have to have tons of people listening to even think about sponsorships and some of those other things. I think it can be really good, and I definitely recommend listening to Pat Flynn's podcast still, because he has a ton of good information on there, not necessarily just on how to make money podcasting. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what Rob said. You don't want to jump into something you may not be 100% interested in. And if you spread yourself too thin, especially in the beginning, you can be kind of tackling a lot of different things. Podcasting is a lot of work. I can speak to that personally and experience. You have to know how to edit it. You have to know how to host it and upload it, and get a theme intro in the beginning. There's a lot of things that you have to think about that take a lot of time. Right. And eventually, if you build a business and you're an author and say, hey, I want to do a podcast, maybe you can pay someone to do all of those difficult things for you. If I was going to start a podcast again, I would probably try to do the best I could to outsource some of that stuff, so I didn't have to go in and edit it and upload it and do all of that stuff that ends up taking up a ton of time, and then I don't have time to write. So think about it, but it's not something for everyone. You don't necessarily have to do it as an author. It may be a later kind of thing. But yeah.
Yep. Cool. No, I think that's great. In terms of technological recommendations, and doing it in a low cost way. One book that I want to plug, you may remember the title of it, Jordan, but it's by by Dale Roberts' brother. I know he and Dale have a video casting YouTube channel, and that title we linked to it over around Black Friday time. And anyway, it's a good book on introductions and getting you set up for. Are you searching for that, Jordan? Is that what you're searching?
Yeah, I have the book. I was just typing
cool.
I was my notes that we were to it, but it's called Live Streaming Kit. Live Streaming Alt Roberts. Haven't read it yet. I'm excited to read that. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll include a link to that down below. And they have a YouTube channel as well. So you can check out that channel and get a sense of what they recommend and what's out there, and what are some considerations and things that you might need. And oftentimes you don't need a whole lot more than a decent cell phone. And you can get more high-end equipment. One of the tools that I really like and recommend, and a lot of our audio people use, is the ATR 2100, which is a USB microphone. It works really well, and it's pretty reasonably priced. I think you can get it on Amazon for $60 or $70, and that works well. And then the Logitech C920, I think, is the webcam that I use, and it streams in 1080p or up to 1080p, and works pretty well. Can work as a good standalone photograph camera as well. But those are the main tools that I use. So my total outlay was under $150 or so, and there are people out there who are doing it for even less. There are folks who use their smartphones, their iPhones, their Androids. I suppose even their window phones, if they're, some of those are still out there. But you can do that. But yeah, you can search around. There are lots of good resources. And, if you wanted to do it on the cheap, if you did elect to get started with it, then, poking around some of those resources is a good place to start. And that's what I would recommend. So Josh, thanks for a bunch of really good, thoughtful questions, and we're happy to share. And anybody else out there, feel free to leave those questions, comments down below. We will do our best to address them in future videos. We appreciate all of the engagement. And Bonnie, lots of useful information. Bonnie writes, "Thank you, Bonnie. We're happy to provide it. Thank you for stopping in." And I think that's all. We did end up going on for more than an hour, even though we weren't planning to. But
let's keep this short. And
and it's one of the longer ones. But we're grateful for everybody stopping in. Grateful for the comments and the questions, and anything else that you wanted to share, Jordan.
Nope, that's it. I just look forward to more questions. Thanks again, Josh. Hopefully we answered your questions thoroughly there. If you specifically have any other questions, reach out to us. But otherwise, definitely just let us know as you're watching this if you have any questions, and we'll touch on it when we can.
Awesome. Sounds good. And Jordan, safe travels. Enjoy your time internationally, and we'll be in touch again next week, everybody. So have a good rest of your evening.
Sounds good.
Cool.
See you guys.
All right.